Hey guys, thanks once again for tuning in to Be Good Fruit. It's a podcast. We are here to give you our opinions, to tell you what's worked for us and practical applications of how do we put this Word of God into our daily lives and make it work. And that's what it is, us giving you our opinion. In the end, you have to look it up. You have to do the research. It's your relationship with Christ, not ours. So do the work, get to know Jesus, and do your best to dig into the Word. Without further ado, Be Good Fruit. Hello, and welcome to Be Good Fruit. I'm Brian.
I'm David.
Wait, what?
Yep.
He's back, people.
Look what the cat drew again.
Man, no more hiatus, well, at least for a little while. Dude's busy. It's great to have you back, David.
Yeah,
we missed you.
Back.
We got some dishes for you to do if you can clean up around here.
Yeah, no.
No? No.
Yeah, no.
No. So what had happened was...
Ooh, gotta go.
Man, my sciatica.
Right.
So today we're going to do a testimony for each of us. You'll do this episode 33.
Okay.
I'll do 34.
Goodness.
We got it. I know we're moving along.
Right.
Chris has filled in the last 2 weeks. He's off this week.
Yeah.
He'll come back and we'll interchange with each other. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's three-headed monster. We'll see if the Lord provides.
All right.
Let's define it. We like to define things around here. Testimony. A formal, written, or speaking statement, especially one given in a court of law.
Mm.
So is this formal? Are you going to, I hear bar.
I hear about David, sound body and mind.
Since when? Okay, here's another one. Evidence or proof provided by the existence or appearance of something.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A public recounting of a religious conversation or experience.
Mm. I didn't know that religious. Okay.
There you go.
All right.
So as a testimony goes, well, let's do it chronological. Let's start from the beginning.
Man, I was gonna start in the middle.
Never mind.
No.
We're gonna jump to the middle and
jump
back.
to the middle and yeah. But no.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start from the beginning.
Were you born at a young age?
Yeah, I was born a baby.
Doggone it. I was hatched.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they found this big old egg.
Yeah.
So tell me about it. You were born in Chicago, right?
Yeah, I was born in Chicago, May 11, 1985. I think it was Mother's Day or no, because I think I was born on a Saturday.
But around it.
Yeah, so I was born around 9:30 on the Saturday, and then the following morning was Mother's Day.
Oh, my goodness. What a gift.
Yeah.
What a Mom's Day gift.
Right. So my parents, Lisa and Nate Jones, both, from Chicago, grew up there. And father's more like the south suburbs. So, Robbins, Harvey, Markham, and stuff like that. So he was kind of from that area. My mom and my parents, like my mom met my father. He was playing in a band, and they were doing a block party on my mom's block, and my mom saw him.
How cool!
And she said she went home and told my grandma. She said, "I'm gonna marry that man."
Oh no!
Yeah, and she was younger,
How
and
cool.
yeah, she was too young. My dad said she was too young to date, so they did not date. And then when she got 18, then they started dating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they didn't date too long before they got married. I think my mother was married by 19,
Mm-hmm.
had me at 20. Yeah.
Nice.
And so, so I was born there. I did love Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
when I was there. My grandma, I spent most of my time at my grandmother's house. That's what I remember the most, my
Right.
mother's mother. And so, yeah, always, my doing music, everything, music. My father was a musician.
Right.
My mother loves music. My grandmother loves music,
Right.
just music in my family. My aunt, she,
Right.
everybody on both sides, everybody loves music. But, so I had 3 tapes. I had Moonwalker,
Mm-hmm.
Purple Rain,
Mm-hmm.
and Sign of the Times.
Okay.
And I would watch those 3 tapes over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
So all I want to do is play my guitar, my keyboard, and sing along and give shows to whoever comes into the living room.
So did you record yourself on the cassettes and then play it back?
Yeah, well, eventually, but just my grandmother's living room is what I remember the most. Giving performances there,
fun.
Watching my dad play guitar and stuff like that, and that was a big influence to me.
Right,
yeah.
right. So did your mom sing? Like
my mom, she played bass a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, she tried to play bass a little bit. They were starting a girls group.
Oh my goodness.
And the drummer in my dad's band was the manager for my mom's band.
Oh my goodness.
But I think it just wasn't progressing well, so it just didn't. And then my mom, she did some modeling. She did some like hair modeling and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, she was really trying to do that, and then she got married, and I think I ruined that. So yeah, so I was stayed in Chicago till about 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah.
And my father moved to Dallas, and he was like, "Okay, let's move to Dallas." My parents moved to Dallas, so we moved here like 90, 91 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool. It was great. My parents,
It was hot.
Yeah, it was hot. It was different. So as soon as I got out the car coming into the apartment, it was at nighttime, and I see a water bug. I've never seen a water bug before. So that was like, welcome to Texas.
Welcome.
Right there.
So if you're listening and you don't know what that is, imagine the biggest cockroach you've seen.
Right.
Now triple it.
Right. Yeah, this huge thing. Yeah, it was in the park, and I was like, it just freaked me out.
It's like a grown man's thumb.
Right.
It's big.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. And we call them water bugs here in Texas, but most people just say that's just a huge roach,
Yeah.
But
I know what you mean, though.
Right. So I came here, moved to North Dallas, near the Spring Valley area.
Mm-hmm.
And my father, he would work. He still works 2 jobs, but he was working 2 jobs. My mom worked. It was just me. Them. I have an older brother. I got 2 older brothers in Chicago, and one I didn't meet till I was like 32. But my oldest brother, who I've known my whole life, he came down to visit, and my father wanted him to stay, but his mom didn't want him to stay, so he ended up going back. But my father really wanted, us here.
Right.
So it was just me, my parents, for a while, and then my parents got divorced like when I was like 7 or something like that. Man. Yeah. That rocked me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, it did. It was, it changed a lot. So then it was just me and my mom, and while it was me and my mom, that's when we really began to go to church. So when we first moved here to Dallas, we moved next to this lady. Her name's Aretha. And she had daughters, and her and my mom became best friends.
Right.
Instantly, best friends. So wherever she moved, we moved. Wherever we
really?
moved. Yeah. So, so her daughters and I grew up, with them. My mom would always be working, and my dad would be working. So I would be with them a lot, which I did not like, not because I didn't like them.
Right.
I had my own room. I got a Nintendo. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be at home, And being with, it was 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you know, I'm surrounded by girls, and then you know, we all in the, you know, together. It's like being in a big family. Well, I'm not used to that. You know what I mean? I'm used to being the only child. So, yeah, it was different, but it was great looking back at it.
You had like instant cousins, I guess.
Instant cousins, basically. And so we would go back and forth in North Dallas. I would live like on Forest Lane and then Spring Valley, Forest Lane, my whole, you know, growing up here was just going back and forth between those places. But when my parents got divorced, my mother started going to church.
Good.
And we started going to church. I was in the drill team at church. Yeah, as a kid. Drill team is like ROTC, but it's about the Bible. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they're drilling the Bible into me, and it was great. Actually, I liked it. So
did you read the passages while you did 20 push-ups?
Yeah, right. They'd be like, you know, we all stand and line up, you know, like, you know, call them out. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua. You know, you'd have to know all that stuff, or you have to drop down and do push-ups and stuff like that. So,
wow.
Yeah. And it was cool, though. I was in the choir a little bit. But what I really liked, even as a child, was Bible study, though. Mm-hmm. I liked going to Bible study because I like to learn about the scriptures. I find it fascinating. I'm into it. I mean, still to this day. I mean, this morning, I'm always reading. I'm always looking up or watching a video or something about scripture. Right. I just like it. So,
but you can't exhaust it. It's forever. Like,
it's right.
I mean, my grandfather at 102 would read something and, never saw that before. What do you mean? You're 102.
Right. How many times have you read? It's like that. It's a living word. You know what I mean? Just when you think you know, there's something new, and it's like that's life. Yeah. You know, just when you think you know everything,
right?
Something to surprise you. But yeah, I was exposed to that. And my father, we had a great relationship. My father didn't go far. You know, cool. I would still see him. I still knew that my dad loved me.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah,
that's big. So many kids don't have that.
Right. And I'm grateful for that. I never was sitting around wondering why, you know, and things like that. It was just different. I did not like that they split up, but still, you know, I knew that they were both there. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, what I did growing up in North Dallas, getting into music and stuff like that. Grew up typical. I had friends. Right. I was into basketball, you know, coming from Chicago. So, you know, I've been a Jordan fan since I could breathe.
Yeah.
So, you know, and plus I would go back for summers and winters, you know, and stuff like
Your grandma?
Yeah.
Cool.
Staying there, go visit my brother and all that. But I'll say this. I did not love Dallas that much when I came here because it was different. It was
sure.
Right. It was very different.
It doesn't snow here. Hardly at all.
Hardly snow. Well, you know, it's not so much that. It was just different. Like, I didn't have that Southern twang. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and the food's different.
Food's different and stuff.
People
are different. And I'd be like, man, these people, like, country, they talk funny. You know what I mean? You know, meeting kids and stuff like that. I grew up in, you know, your typical black areas, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So I guess you would say hood or whatever, growing up like that. But
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And then, you know, this is the 90s. So, you know, the 90s was kids don't understand now. The 90s was this is a time before the internet ruled the world.
That's
okay?
Right.
This is before social media. So my generation, we're like the last of the living in the moment, you know, don't go outside, don't run in and out the house.
Bike.
Right, ride your bike, you know, drink from the water hose, you know, stay outside and do stuff.
Why are you coming in? You want to work?
You want to work, right? No. If you come back in, you're not going to be able to go out. And being outside is everything.
Then everybody goes by and I want to go play.
right. So, yeah, my generation is like the last of that. And so I would do that. I didn't have a hard time making friends or anything like that. But something weird did happen around, I want to say 92, right before my parents got divorced. I had a neighbor. She lived like a in the apartment across from mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like 7 or something like that. She's like 13. And she was my friend. You know what I mean? She was cute. She looked like I don't know if you grew up watching the Cosby Show, whoever's listening. But Rudy, the last season when Rudy was like 13, when she became a teenager,
I kind of remember.
She looked just like her.
Mm.
And she was my friend. We had walkie-talkies. We, watch videos. We play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But she would have me do things to her and sexually.
No.
Yeah, she would. And it's crazy because I not long ago just really remembered this.
Really?
Because I kind of blocked it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, she, so what that did was it exposed me to, you don't sexualize a child.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it had an effect on me. You know what I mean? So I grew up pretty quick. I was always very mature for my age. I always got, me and you became friends, and
right.
there's a big age gap. You know what I mean?
I'm 104.
Exactly. And somehow, but I was just always mature for my age. I always found myself around older people. All my friends were usually older than me.
Right.
But when that happened, now looking back, I realized a lot of the girlfriends that I had or dated were older than me because I was sexualized by a older girl.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't really bad because, like I said, we were just friends. We really were friends. And I don't think that she was being malicious or trying to take advantage of me. We were just kids, stupid, don't know what we're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't look at it like that, but yeah, it still had an effect on me. So when I became about 12, 13, I really started making beats. Like I really, really started to realize that I really like doing music. Okay. Music is something I really want to do. Still was going to church, not so much, but still going. But, when you turn 13, we call that jumping off the porch, and you start getting out and start.
You know everything then.
Right. You know everything. You start experiencing stuff.
Why are people so stupid? I'm 13.
I'm 13. I can figure this out.
Oh, my goodness.
So, but yeah. So around that time, I really began to take the music thing serious. And I met my best friend. I met him when I was like 11, 12 or something like that. But we discovered that we both really love music. So we started making music together. My church, we stopped going to church because the church fell apart.
Oh.
Yeah, the pastor had an affair.
Oh, no.
And it broke the whole church up, man.
I hate that.
Yeah. So, but what a funny thing happened was there was this other church that started coming to pick up us in the neighborhood and taking us to church on Saturday. So me and all my friends would go to church on Saturday. And it was great. I loved it. You know what I mean? It was cool. I'm with all my friends because, when you're 13, all you want to do is be around your friends all the time.
That's very true.
Right. So we would do that. And it was, I don't know, it was like, I guess, pick up the ghetto kids and bring them to church outreach kind of thing.
Yeah?
Yeah. I guess that's what they were doing. So we would do that for a while, and it was fun. I want to say from like 90, I started going 96 to about 98. We were doing that.
Yeah.
And it was great, but I guess they just got tired of us because dealing with ghetto kids is kind of hard.
Well,
that could be a little difficult. So they were like,
who knows budget? Who knows what it was?
Well, fighting and all kind of, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You guys were wild.
Yeah. So, so they stopped doing that. And when that stopped though, I noticed a change. A lot of my friends, like I said, they were all older than me. So now I'm starting to see, people catching cases, people doing drugs, getting drunk, and teen pregnancy, and people dropping out and stuff like that.
Right.
And just seeing that happen. But look, fortunate for me, I was so focused in doing music that I didn't really get caught up in a lot of stuff. I was hanging out and all that, but once I locked in on that music thing, man,
right.
That was so important to me that I wasn't going to school. You see what I'm saying? So I
come on,
right. So when I was 14, we had this little record deal thing with me and my friends.
Yeah.
And this guy was like, okay, he started a record company. He's like, I want to put out a thing, So we had to sign contracts, and
dang it,
they put in he put in a lot of money. He got us, equipment and paid for studio time and all that kind of stuff. So I'm making beats at 14 years old.
Was it just like hip hop stuff and rap?
Yeah, hip hop stuff and rap and all that. I very immersed in that.
Right. Well, I've heard a lot of them. I mean, you did our music.
Right.
Oh, by the way, he did our music, and I kind of halfway explained it, and then I. Like this? No. I was horrible. I'm a bad person. And he's like, how about that? But you played guitar, everything on that.
Appreciate it, man.
You did a good job.
Thank you. So,
sorry. Go ahead.
But no, it's okay. So yeah, I just knew that I wanted to do that. And so I did that, 13, 14 years old, hanging with my friends, making music,
right,
chasing girls. Like, that's it.
Not necessarily in that order.
All mixed up, combined, all that. I would like to say that for the most part, I was a pretty decent kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was unruly in the sense that I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't rebellious. I wasn't a problem child. I wasn't a troublemaker.
Disrespectful. No.
I wasn't disrespectful. Right. I was very respectful, very well mannered and polite and all that. And but I wanted to do what I wanted to do.
I understand.
So at this age, I'm about 14, 15. My mom is like, she calls my dad. She's like, Nate, you got to do something because I'm going to kill him.
Get your boy.
Get your son. He don't want to do this. He don't want to do that. So my parents tried to get back together when I was 15, but it didn't work out. And then my grandmother, she was dealing with breast cancer. And so my mother went back to Chicago and to, be there with her and take care of her. Yeah. So then I'm back with my dad.
Right.
So here's another interesting thing to me about my life. I know plenty of people who grew up with just their mom. Most of the people I knew. I knew people who grew up with their fathers.
Right.
I knew people who grew up in a 2-parent household. Mm-hmm. But I don't know anybody that grew up with, they know what it's like to be in a 2-parent household, know what it's like to be with just a mom and single parent, and then know what it's like to be just with a single dad.
Yeah.
So I got to see all of that and, deal with all that. Yeah, it was different. So I'm 15 at this time. Ended up failing the 8th grade because just simply not going to school.
Well, you do have to show up,
right? You got to show up.
Come on, man.
I just wasn't, because I was going to the studio.
Wow.
I didn't. Everybody's telling me, "Oh man, you're gonna be so successful and you're gonna have this and you're gonna have that."
You got that hype machine.
Yeah, and plus, this is what I love to do. This is what I want to do.
Right.
Being in schools, making beats. I feel alive doing that. So that's what I did. And I failed. So my father was like, yeah, you're out the group, bro. Not you done. That's a wrap.
He voided your contract.
Yeah, he voided my contract. He's like, you have to get to school.
He probably voided your backside.
Right. Well, no, it didn't take all that. We and then plus the record company thing began to fall apart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't set up on good foundation. So
that's a nice way to put it.
That's a good way to put it. So it began to fall apart. We just it just happened like that. But we were still friends. We were still determined to do music and all that. So I ended up going to had to repeat the 8th grade, went to 9th grade, started high school in a different district.
Right.
Which is better for me because I was really popular in middle school and wasn't thinking right. It was distracted. You see what I'm saying? So if I would have went to high school where I went to middle school, I probably wouldn't have graduated. I probably, teen pregnancy, something, got into it with some guys or whatever. I was just, it was just too much. I mean, a lot of people like me. I was easy to get along. I didn't have a lot of enemies and stuff like that, but jealousy, you know what I mean? Sure. I experienced that. Before the deal fell apart, we did have our song playing on the radio. We were in the magazine. Yeah. We were on the, So it was kind of cool. And I remember how people would treat me when, they thought that I was really going to do something and, be some, and then when it all fell apart, I saw how people treat me then, you know what I mean? And so I had to get a job. I had to get, I worked at an Italian restaurant. I was washing dishes and making pizzas and cannolis. That was my first job, trying to save up money to get equipment because when the record contract was over, no more drum machine.
They come take it.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. But I jumped over something right before we got the record deal. Bernard Wright, he was, very well-known musician. He moved to my neighborhood.
You were telling me about him.
Yeah, and he began to mentor me. He's the one that showed me music theory. He showed me how to use the MPC. He showed me, a lot. And more than that, we talked about the things of God. We talked about the Bible because he had just really got deep into his faith, his walk, because he was coming out of a, he was a famous dude. He had a hit record, so party and drugs and, all that kind of stuff. So he had to focus his life. And I caught him at a time where, he did that. And part of his faith, was helping and reaching out to children. And he would teach and mentor and any young person that he thought that had any kind of talent and and just out of the kindness of his heart.
Yeah.
And so he would tell me a lot of things. And it was crazy that happened before we got a record contract. He was telling me all these pitfalls and and then he was like, man, I had a hit record, I got money, I'm buying this, I'm buying that, I'm throwing these parties for my friends and we buying, drugs and women and all this kind of stuff. And there's just a hole in me. You know what I mean? And I had worked so hard to be successful, but this, it doesn't feel me. So more than music, he really stressed having a relationship with God with me and having a right mindset. And so because of that, I didn't never get into doing drugs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? He dealt with manic depression, and I would see things, but did not know that was something that I was going through and dealing with. Because I'm a kid, things start with mental situations. They start showing up at certain ages. You know what I mean?
No, I do.
So my mother, she was diagnosed manic depression, and she had stomach ulcers growing up. Yeah. So she had to deal with that. She had to have a lot of surgeries on her stomach, and because of that became opioid addicted.
Oh yeah.
Which, So things just started to go downhill, that depression and then the drug use and stuff like that. And I'm too young to really understand what's going on.
Right.
And I'm just caught up in all my dreams and all I want to do and all that. And I didn't realize what was going on.
Sure.
It started to creep up. Well, anyway, I went to high school, did night school, able to get that year back that I failed, you know what I mean?
Cool.
And I really realized that, okay, I'm going to have to walk alone, you know, sometimes. I'm going to have to do what I need to do. I need to focus on what I got to do instead of being down for the crew, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I have to do, because see what happened when I wasn't focused on taking care of what I need to take care of.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned. And I realized that I can be a good student, putting my mind to it. I was just never motivated.
Right.
Because all I wanted to do was make music. So
you could see a lot of your right there and then at a young age, which a lot of people don't get till they're later. Not that it's too late, but hey, I can accomplish what I want. I have the right mindset. I can do this.
Mm-hmm. And
wow, I am smart. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, I really am motivated. I am good at this. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where you're at?
Yeah, that's where I was at. I did not like school. I made the worst, like in elementary, I made the worst grades in school. So bad, they wanted to put me in special education.
Oh, my goodness.
So, of course, the number one weapon of special education is the IQ test. So they IQ tested me. My IQ was college level.
Nice.
But I didn't do good in school. So they were like, there's nothing wrong with this kid. He's just not motivated.
He's just a punk.
Yeah, he just doesn't he just doesn't like going to school and stuff. So but see, when they asked me all these questions, it wasn't like you know, taking a test or stuff like that you learn. They're asking me about reason, and they're asking me about, you know, certain other things. You know what I mean? And my IQ was pretty high because, like I told you, I was very mature for my age.
That's right.
And not only that, I kind of developed early. Like, I had a mustache in elementary. Like, probably in 7th grade, I was probably as big as I needed to be, you know, as an adult. I just, yeah.
We had a kid like that.
yeah. We
that's funny.
We would go out, right? We would go out partying and stuff, and like I said, all my friends were older than me, and they would get carded, and I didn't.
Oh no!
Like, they're seniors in high school. I'm like in 7th grade, and
dude.
Yeah, I have this thick mustache, long sideburns, and we still joke about it today.
So you look like you went home to 3 kids and, you know, put your briefcase down. And
well, I had a baby face with a thick mustache. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of.
I never knew that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but yeah. So, you know, I'm in high school. I'm in junior high. I'm dating girls in high school.
Yeah.
I'm in high school. I'm dating girls, you know, 22, 23.
Doggone it, man.
Yeah. So, went through high school. I had faith, you know, what was instilled in me. Mm-hmm. It was drilled in me, you know.
Oh, yeah, literally for years.
It was drilled in me, but I hadn't been going to school because I got so focused in all the stuff that I wanted to do. And, but it was still there, and I still believed. And, I had friends and stuff like that I would meet in high school, and then I would just, I had a friend, he was really sad one day, and I was just like, well, bro, when I feel like that, you know, I pray, you know, I just kind of shared, you know, my faith with him.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, yeah, thanks, man. I didn't see him for a while. Then I seen him again, gave his life to Christ.
Really?
He's leading Bible studies. I'm going to he was like, dude, you know that what you said, dude, I was on the brink of suicide. I was doing drugs. I was like, dude, you was doing drugs. He's like, yeah, man. I said, I didn't know you were doing drugs. Yeah, man. I was a mess, dude.
Doggone.
And but he was so different. He had so much joy, man. And
it's that 180.
Yeah.
And the good Lord used you right there and then.
And but see, I'm like, dude, I didn't do anything. shared, just trying to be a good friend, just.
It's like we say, it's you just have every now and then you nudge somebody or you encourage them, and that's, planting seed, water a seed, harvest a seed. You were watering.
I had no idea, Brian. No. I didn't, but
well, and I'm sorry to keep interrupting.
No, that's good.
We never harvest. It's Jesus.
Right. That's right.
And so when people get that, I led them to Christ. No, dude. No.
Right.
Stop. Go home.
Right.
But that's amazing how you can use everybody in every situation in that little interaction.
Yeah.
So you listening in the car, in the home. Yeah. That's all it takes.
Yeah. Yes. And so, man.
So he was evangelizing.
Well, I wouldn't call it that, but I'm still a typical teenager. I'm hanging out. Now I didn't do drugs or anything, but I did smoke cigarettes and stuff like that. Not a lot, but every now and then I would,
enough,
right? Like. There's no good amount when it comes to that. No amount is good.
I've never had a cigarette.
That's great.
Not one.
But that's amazing. But yeah, doing that. Wasn't into bad stuff or anything. Like I said, I was just so into music and all kinds of music. Rock music, hip hop music, R&B music. I loved old classic rock. I like, alternative. I like a little bit of country. Funk. I love the funk. Right. Yeah. So just anything I can get my hands on. I loved music from other countries and, international music and stuff like that. Salsa, just anything, anything that sounds good. And plus doing hip hop is like the gateway to all kinds of music because
you sample it.
You sample it. It consists of all kinds of music. And, so that's how I got into everything. And then my mother, being a big music lover, she had this great album collection.
Yeah.
So we would play games. She'd be like, somebody come out with this new hip hop song. And she'd be like, oh, that's, they got that from this and got that from that. And me being young, you don't know, no better. So I'm like, no, this is new. She's like, hold on. She'll go to her albums. And this is before the internet and stuff like that. Right. She could like get, okay, so they got that drums is from this. She got that.
And she just knew it.
Yeah, because she loved music. My father loved music, but he kind of stayed in that R&B funk, kind of thing. Because that's what he did. He sang and he played. So that's what he could do. So, that was his main deal. But Mama loved everything.
Right.
Mama liked, Steve Miller Band, the Eagles. I'm getting all that stuff. Prince, Parliament Funkadelic,
P-Funk, baby.
Right. Melissa Etheridge, Alanis Morissette.
Really?
Yeah. She's so cool. Very eclectic. And that's where I get that from. And so, just love music. Got a tattoo when I was 15, a big music note. And I asked my mom, because my birthday falls on Mother's Day. So I got my mother's name tattooed on it. It was like a Mother's Day birthday kind of thing. And then got and I asked her, she was like, well, okay, I know you're always going to love me. She said, I know you're going to always love music. So, okay. And so, she was a real cool mom. She really was. But yeah. And I said, okay, I'll get these 2 tattoos, and then I'm not going to get any more until I get older, until I get old enough to do it.
Right.
Because getting tattoos are addictive. You see people covered in tattoos. Yeah, it's really addictive. So I fought the urge. And then by the time I got old enough to get tattoos, I was like, I'm good. No, I don't need, get a shirt made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just get a shirt made, and then you can take the shirt off. But
I like the ones you can put on and they peel off in a day.
Right. So there was that. My mom, she would she had her nose pierced. My mom loved Tupac. Oh my God. Yeah. Like I had a copy of Machiavelli, but that was hers. Like that was my mama's album. My mom, so she was just real cool like that. And so so I'm about to graduate high school. I started to think about doing music academically. I wish I would have thought that sooner.
Right.
Because music was something I did outside of school.
Right.
You know.
You never put the two together.
Didn't until my senior year.
Right.
So I joined the jazz band, but then the instructor quit. So now I'm just in there playing guitar by myself. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah. So, yeah, that... Anyway.
Doggone it.
But I could have got a scholarship to, you know...
Right. UNT's got a good program.
Yeah, I could have did that. I could have went to Grambling or Prairie View, and because that movie...
That'd be amazing.
Drumline came out, I think, my senior year or either the year before. So I really liked that movie, and that should have been, you know, motivated me to you know, want to do that. But I just didn't think about it like that. And plus, I was just so into making beats. But I had a band in high school, so my senior year was pretty much like this. I go to school, and I wasn't popular in high school because I didn't care to be. I saw what popularity got me.
Right.
So I didn't care to be, you know, I was cool with whoever, you know, but I didn't care to be. I didn't go to any school dances. I didn't go.
You already had it.
I already had all that. And plus, y'all kids to me anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. All my friends are out of school and, you know, so I don't.
You know, that's interesting really to think about how you had that eye opener at such a young age. There's good and bad with it. But,
Right.
But yeah, that's interesting.
So, I just I didn't think to do it academically. So I could have went to college. I could play anything I got my hands on, you know.
Really can.
But I just didn't think to do that. But anyway, my friends, like, I graduated high school. I started working, and then I had a girlfriend. Right after high school, and me and her were pretty close, and we almost technically lived together. I still lived with my dad. My mom's still in Chicago, but we stayed together. We worked together too, and then
pretty serious.
Yeah, pretty serious. Music is still everything. So at this time now, I'm, 19. So I'm going to Deep Ellum. Me and my group, we're performing. We're trying to get a record deal. We got a manager and all that. We're pretty good and stuff like that. But so I'm so focused on that anyway. But she ended up passing away. She had a brain aneurysm.
Oh my goodness!
And they operated on her. And she, her brain no longer functioned. She had a stroke.
Oh,
brain no longer functioned.
No.
And so she was on life support, and then the family cut that.
Yeah.
So that was December of, no. Hold on. I jumped. My mom passed away first.
Oh, yeah.
My mother passed away in December of 2005. Then my girlfriend passed away in February 2006. So that rocked my world.
3 months.
Yes, it rocked my world. Before then, like I said, my life revolved around doing music. I believed in Jesus. I believed, and I had faith, but music was my God because that's what I was doing. That's what I was living my life, chasing after the industry.
Sure.
So I had it all figured out. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But when that happened, it just rocked me. And it made me think about life differently. It made me take the focus off, what I was chasing and think about what's real, what's most important.
Right.
So, it's kind of hard. I had to pull away from doing music a while, chasing after the industry. Let me say that. My dad's band, they were like, well, our keyboard player split. Why don't you come and play with us?
Right.
Because I fell into a deep depression.
I can imagine, dude.
Yeah, I got real sick. I got a really bad sinus infection, and I just sat with it for probably months. I was just taking like Sudafed. I didn't go to the doctor. I'm just depressed and sleeping. Like, that's it. I'm sick and I'm sleeping. I roll over, wake up, take medicine. I'm like, yeah, it was bad. My dad was like, well, come play with us,
Yeah.
So I started playing with my dad's band.
At 19?
I was 20 at this point. Yeah, I'm 20. I go and play with them, and I thank God for that because it got me to, I'm doing something I love to do,
right?
And then we were traveling a lot too, so it took my mind off of where I was, and I was able to do other things, go other places, and it brought me out of that funk.
And you think your dad was able to come alongside with you?
Yeah, and then I'm with my dad, so I get to spend this time with my dad.
That mentorship.
Yeah. Because he, growing up in high school, living with him, he worked. He'd be at work like at 6:30 in the morning, come home, we'd eat, some KFC or something,
right.
Watch SmackDown for a little bit or something like that.
I see zero problems with this.
Right.
I'm right there with you. Let's go.
And so then he'll take a nap and then get up about 8:30 and then he's out playing, and that was his life. And my father, he's one of them kind of guys that he can do a routine.
Yeah.
He can do that. He's the type of dude that can work a job for like 40 years and like, just, you can set a clock to him. Like,
right.
That's how he is. And me, I need,
variety,
a little more variety. But once he locks into a routine, he's a very stable kind of person.
Right.
Well, I started playing with them. And that was great. That first year was a bit of a blur because I was so still depressed and all that. So
sure.
It was kind of like a haze I was in. We played in Vegas for like a week. We was going all kind of places, and it was great. And then I was playing about 4 or 5 nights a week. So I was so busy doing that. But that brought me out of where I was at. I met a friend right before I started playing with the band, chasing after the industry. I met a friend and his mother and father. They were Messianic Jews.
Yeah.
So Jews that believe in Jesus.
That's right. And
I met them, and they really ministered to me. And it was amazing. You know what I mean? They really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't know, just going to church, you know what I mean? And so and God was working through them, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Because that helped to refocus my life. So I stopped wanting to do this. I stopped wanting to do that. You know what I mean? There was a transformation happening within me. You know what I mean? I wasn't all the way out the woods, but that is what cured me of chasing after the industry.
Right.
So then my focus began to get on Christ, you know what I mean? On God. That's where, okay, so I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to, I'm becoming an adult. At 20, for me, you got to understand, 13 was like 20 for me.
Yeah.
20 is like 27 for me.
I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm changing.
So you're like 80 now.
No, you're right. Something like that. Right. So, no, I would say probably like 50, like 52.
Man, who's that old?
Right. I turned 40 last week, but I'm like 52. But, no, so it just changed me, and it really got me to focus. So, even though I was in these nightclubs and stuff like that, I still had my relationship with God. I still had convictions. I still had things that would just not allow me to go. God is always like, I tried stuff, and all that, but he was like, no, not you. No,
you stayed out of that hole.
Yeah, he would never let me go too far, and I could feel that there was a calling on my life. You know what I mean?
Excellent.
So in these nightclubs, still playing, still a human, still a man, still messing up and all that. But learning and realizing that there is something else. There's something greater, Played in the band for about 15 years from 2000. Just a little bit short of 15 years, 2006 to 2020 when the pandemic hit.
Right. So you'd work during the day, go out at night, or
play,
travel on the weekends?
Just like I seen my father do, you know. And
that's quite a while.
Yeah, that's a long time. That's plenty. But in that time, I did meet a girl, and me and her, we ended up being together for about 3 years. But she painted, and she was like, "Why don't you try this?" Because at this point, doing music had became my job. So I'm playing 4 or 5 nights a week. When I'm off, I don't want to look at a keyboard. You know what I mean? I'm good. So it became my job, and when it becomes your job, and we were cover band, so we're playing other people's songs. I'm used to making my own. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it kind of just sucked the life out of me, out of the fun out of doing it.
Yeah.
You know, when you say you want to do something, it's like a person who loves to play basketball or football. You want to do something, and then you do it professionally. But now it's your job. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, you used to love to go out and play with your friends, you know.
Right.
But now it's your job. Now you got to do it when you don't feel like doing it.
Yeah, and then do you think it was like the quality got cut in half, or...
What quality into?
Because you weren't doing it on your own, you no longer had the quality from before, or was it just like pedantic, or you just go out and you're a zombie?
Yeah, I mean...
like you're not giving it your all.
Yeah, because songs, you know, we play the same songs all the time. And, you know, a new song comes out, we learn a new song. But, you know, that was that. And then it spoiled me, really. I got used to getting paid to do music. When before then, I've been doing it for free, pretty much. I mean, I would sell beats here and there, but, you know, nothing big. But, yeah, it spoiled me to get paid to do music. So I didn't care to, you know, I wasn't chasing after the industry. And then this is 2005, 2006. That's when the bubble burst. That's when, you know, mom and pop shops are closing, record stores are closing.
Yeah, they are.
And people are downloading music, Napster and all that kind of stuff.
I remember.
So now they're talking about ringtone deals, you know, all this foolishness. And you know, this in hip hop, this is beginning the Soulja Boy era. You know what I mean? So I'm seeing it change, and it's changing into something that I just really don't care for very much.
But she got you interested in painting?
So yeah, she got me interested. Well, she painted, and I started painting with her, and you know, I liked it. So I would do it here and there, and then you know, I could do it somewhat. You know what I mean? And so I would start painting. I didn't. Everything was music, but I started painting, and people paid me to paint a picture for them and stuff like that. It was a talent I didn't know I have, you know, until, you know, my mid-20s or something. So
and David's really good, guys. You gotta see it.
I'm okay, but yeah, I just
I'm okay.
Okay.
We'll move on.
So I started doing that, really started to get tired. By when 2020 happened, I'm 30, I'm coming up on 35 at this point. So I've been playing since I was 20 in the band. So I was about ready. I was done, because we stopped traveling as much as we did, and we in the same nightclubs every week. And playing other people's songs, as much as I enjoyed doing music, that wasn't my dream.
No.
That was not my vision. So it wasn't very fulfilling. So, you know, the band pretty much let me go. The leader of the band let me go. So I was like, okay. So I started working. I mean, I was already working at where I met you at. I just kind of just focused on doing that, and really got time to focus on my relationship. Got time to deal with my issues because I was so busy working and playing. I didn't have time to think about stuff.
You would never be still and know He's God.
And keep in mind, like, so, you know, I kind of blew past, you know, my mom passing and my girlfriend passing. That caused some depression issues.
Yeah.
And that affected my relationships. I had several, you know, girlfriends and during this time, during that 15-year period, and something was just off. You know what I mean? I just, you know, I kept focusing on purpose. That's how I always was. So girls always came second to me. So I was more focused on what it is that God has me here to do. What is that? That's became my main concern.
Right.
More than getting married and having children, more than being with my friends and stuff like that. You know, my relationship began to grow. And during that period when I had lost, you know, two very important people, that's when I felt God the most, because I met that family before that happened. So I felt like he was reaching out to me. He was establishing, you know, and it wasn't a moment too soon, because I definitely needed him.
Bracing you.
He was bracing me. And I'm so thankful for his love, because I didn't go crazy, and I could have went crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I could have
within 3 months.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's more that you're not saying.
Yeah.
I mean, good grief.
I could have, you know, went to drinking and just, you know, be
Easily.
one of them. Yeah. I could.
Statistic.
I could feel that happening, but God didn't allow that to happen. So I would go to church. I would do things, you know, just over that time. But 2020, like I said, that's when everything really began to change. Couple years. So I met Brian.
Yeah, we were just talking about it beforehand. 21.
Yeah. I met Brian in 2021, and we hit it off pretty well. And he was like, man, you know, you want to read the Bible during lunch? You know, I was like, yeah, man, let's do that. So we would just have little Bible studies on our lunch break.
I remember.
Yeah. And we would do that. And
it was funny. I'm sorry, but we would talk like we do now.
Yes.
And we'd say, so what do you think about that in Nehemiah? Oh, man, they're building the wall. Right. But what do you think about this and this and this? And then we'd flip back and forth.
Yeah. It was great. And so my uncle started working at our calling. I think he maybe a few years prior to the pandemic. Well, during the pandemic, I needed to get a COVID test. And so he was like, well, come up here and you can get one. So I came up there and he showed me our calling, the facility. Mm-hmm. And I took a tour and I was like, wow, man, this is great. I was like, man, I want to volunteer and stuff like that. But when I was working there, right before you came, during the pandemic time, dude, that's when I was really going to Houston, San Antonio.
Because they let go of everybody.
They let go of everybody. Yeah, me and Frank, right? So yeah, we had to hold it down, and I was doing a lot, so I didn't have any time to volunteer. But I ended up hurting my back in 2020. Yeah, I hurt my back right before you came, so I was off like a month or two before you came, and I moved to where I live now. Met you, me and you me and you started doing that. Then I hurt my back again, 2023.
Yeah.
So when that happened, I ended up losing the job, and it's all Brian's fault.
Yes.
And
yes.
So
can't trust people.
Can't trust them. And so once my back healed up enough, I had enough time to go volunteer.
Right.
So I started volunteering, and it's a homeless outreach thing.
Right.
And I found myself doing that because there was a lot of homeless people around where I live. So I was already kind of going and talking to them and trying to help out, but I really wanted to learn how to do it. So I started volunteering, and I went and kept doing that I applied for a position. I didn't get it. I kept on volunteering, and then I applied for a position a year ago, and then I got it.
Yeah, you're right at a year.
Right at a year.
Yeah.
And so then I've been doing that for the past year. But yeah, I know this was a long story, but
it's worth it. Worth it.
I feel like all of those things, and they were leading me to what I'm doing now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's still more in the future.
Yeah, you never know.
I forgot to say, I played at churches. I was, been a church musician and stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff has happened in those 15 years. I wanted to spare you the details, but yeah.
Yeah, we don't have 10 hours.
You don't have 10 hours. What time? What are we at now?
We're at an hour almost.
We're at an hour. Well, that's good. I said this wasn't going to be long, and here we are at an hour.
Yeah, I knew better.
I tried to wrap up 40 years in 30 minutes. I should have known that wasn't going to happen.
You got this.
But yeah, man, that's it. And just, me and you've been doing the podcast.
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Yeah, and just serving. I still got my, struggles, just like any other person.
Right.
But what my life looks like now is it's really focused on serving.
Yeah.
I got the honor and pleasure of working my job, helping with people that are dealing with homelessness and addiction, mental illness, and things like that. And I get to do that every day. And then I go to church and, hang out with my friends here and there. And, but yeah, man, that's
talk with me now and again.
Talk with you every once in a while. Get to hear your dad jokes.
Oh man, I lay it on thick too.
But yeah, man, that's pretty much it, man. Just God being there for me through my hard times.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always praying to him, what do you want me to do? What that's my prayer all the time. What will you have me do? And so this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing, and I'm happy with what I'm doing.
I heard a guy yesterday say something, and I think it pertains to you. He's a preacher, and he says, everybody wants to know God's will for their life. But it's funny how it's never really truly revealed until you say, in actions or words, okay, I'll do anything you say, wherever you say, however you say it.
Mm.
And I think a year ago, you reached that spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's when God said, gotcha, big dog. Put you in here.
Yeah.
Because truly what you're doing with Our Calling, that's the name of it.
Yeah.
It's reaching out and it's helping, but it's also serving, like you said, and it's a Christian based. I mean, it's legitimate help for the homeless, but you're giving them Christ, you're giving them hope, you're giving them inner peace through Christ.
Mm-hmm.
It's always one of my big things. So that's amazing.
Yeah. I'm very thankful for, because in those 15 years or whatever, I've worked a lot of jobs.
Sure.
I was at the job that we worked at for about 7 or something years or whatever, but I've done a lot of stuff, and this is my favorite job.
Right. No, I've never seen you happier. Never seen you happier. Because I know there was times you and me, we'd cry together.
Hold on. Let's talk about this. I know we ain't got but a second, but 2023, dude, we both were like in between jobs trying to find, you and me, like me, two of my close Will that, came to work.
Yeah.
And my best friend, like we were all, and then every day, like I would have to have conversations with everybody. And we have to lift each other up.
It was.
We had to lift each other up because trying to find a job.
Yeah.
And that I never had that much. Did you have that much trouble trying to find a job?
No. Mm-hmm. I used to be able to just leave or whatever, and then within 2 weeks I started, and it only took 2 weeks because I took a week off.
Dude, I said when you had stopped working there and you trying to find another job, I said, well, brace yourself, man, because it ain't the same, dude. I used to, you can go temp agency, walk out with a job.
Right.
I said, it's not the same, bro.
No, all these algorithms they use, and you got to say the right words, and
and you said to me, well, I'll probably have a job in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I said, okay, Mr. White Man, all right. Well, go ahead and get your job.
You're a bad self.
But how long was it, man?
About 32 years.
Well, it felt like that, I'm sure.
Right.
But yeah, I went through a tough time.
Yeah.
You went through a tough time. It was just tough. But
where I'm at now, I feel like I think this is it. I think this is gonna be sustaining until the good Lord says, "Hey, one last thing, go do that."
Right.
Whatever that is, I'm waiting on it. But I think this would last me years and years and years where I'm at.
That's good. That's real good. But yeah, I won't hold y'all too much. I won't hold you anymore on my testimony.
Well, David, I appreciate you opening up. You said a lot. And my prayer is those that listen can connect and see how that base, I think that's one of your main stories, is that base of faith. Train a child up in the way, and he'll not depart from it.
Right.
Easier said than done. But you truly were given that great base through your family, who through tragedy was able to still mentor you, hold on to you, and raise you. And then the people that come into your life to build up that base again. Hey, tragedy's coming. Let's build you up again. Get that solid foundation underneath you so that when stuff happens, the Lord is there.
Oh, yeah. What I've learned this year, community. It's something that we talk about at work a lot, and it's vital. You know, you got to have good community.
Yeah. You Book of Hebrews right there. You talk about it.
You have to have that because you know, the enemy is out to take you down regardless. And life is just, it'll throw you around. You know what I mean? And if you are in good community, you can build each other up.
That's right. Well, there's no gold stars today. None.
No.
Nobody gets a gold star. Man, that'll learn you.
Right.
Hey, guys, thanks for listening. Really do appreciate it. Spotify numbers are going up like crazy. That was kind of weird.
Okay.
Some weeks we don't get a lot, but last week we got quite a few. I think Chris was paying people.
Oh, that's what it was.
He's like $20 here, $20 there.
Well, then Chris gets the gold star.
You know what? He might. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. I'm Brian.
I'm David.
See ya.
Peace.